1212 Ubuntu. I am because we are because I am. Dear PanAfrican Daily TV family worldwide, I bring you greetings from the continent and in the diaspora. Now, family, we have a situation on the ground, and this situation needs us to fix it because only us would fix our challenges. Now, listen to this. What if everything we've spent years learning about African unity goes wrong when we finally try to put it into action or into practice? Right now, so many African Americans are deeply disappointed. Yes, our brothers and sisters who have sold their homes, packed up their lives, saved every hard-earned dollar to make that long awaited journey back to Africa, to motherland, back to their roots, to that place they've always dreamed of calling home. But when they arrive, reality sets in. Their stories are familiar. Landlords charging inflated rent, or businesses that seem unreliable, cultural and social differences, name it all. Some even regret even making that move. They blame government. They blame Africans on the continent. They blame landlords and business partners and what have you. And what should have been as a beautiful homecoming sometimes ends up in confusion, disappointment, and even disunity. Have you ever experienced this yourself? That painful moment when your dreams collide with reality? If yes, drop your story in the comments or send us a message. Because these conversations are not just about one person or a group of people. They are about us as a people worldwide. But here's the thing. Here's the surprise. These challenges are not truly about Africans on the continent or governments or even landlords. As Reverend Dr. Shock Matthews, our lecturer on PanAfrican Daily TV, on his series once said, "Nothing is wrong with us. Something happened to us." Nothing is wrong with us. Something happened to us. And it is that history, those invisible forces, that keep showing up every time Africans try to unite and rebuild. But that, family, is a conversation for another day. Let me welcome you to the PanAfrican Daily TV New Era, where we hold honest, bold, unapologetic conversations about Africa, our continent, the diaspora ourselves, and the realities we face when we start making concrete moves. The realities we face when we connect. For 5 years, we've sparked powerful conversations with some of the greatest minds in the world, historians, professors, freedom fighters, exploring the journeys of our ancestors across the Atlantic. Be aware that out of the 12.5 million Africans forced onto those slave ships, only 10.7 million survive, according to facts. These men, women, and children, today known as African Americans or the Caribbeans, name it all, carried a legacy of resilience that continues to inspire. In this new era on PanAfrican Daily TV, we move beyond conversations into actions, into concrete Africa-focused solutions by us. And tonight, one of the most sensitive topics that I'll be handling with you is this question. Why do some African Americans feel disappointed when they finally touch the African soil, motherland? Greetings, Hotep 1212 Ubuntu. I am because you are because I am. Most of the returnees who have arrived on the continent are expecting instant belonging. That's my research. Expecting to be embraced as family, as long-lost sons and daughters. Indeed. But instead, they find themselves treated like outsiders, sometimes even like tourists. They face inflated rents, shaky business deals, and cultural differences, name it all. That spiritual homecoming often becomes an emotional letdown, a nightmare. So, why does this happen? I question myself, and I ask. And I realize most of the feedback comes from the expectation we all have. Now, what is expectation in our situation as Africans connecting and uniting? Expectations play a huge role. For many, returning to Africa is a sacred journey. But when the dream meets reality, survival, struggles, corruption, economic, the disappointments cut deep. They are truly disappointed. Now, family, let me ask you directly. Have you felt overcharged for rent, for land or services on the continent as you relocate? Or even on several occasions that you visited the continent? Have you ever been treated more like a tourist than a family? Please, I would like to know, I would like to hear from you so that we can make this a true dialogue. Type yes or no in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Now, the next incident that occurs, we take, for instance, inflated prices. Yes, diaspora returnees are often charged more. That's the fact. From the local side, it's survival. From the diaspora side, it feels like exploitation, short-term gain, long-term mistrust. Of course it is. And it's not just Africa, people. Thailand or Mexico, or when you travel from Africa to Europe, it happens everywhere. But in Africa, it stings more. Why? Because here we expect family. Ubuntu. Then there's business also. Partnerships that start with hope and end in heartbreaks. Money vanishes. Promises broken. Often it's not just fraud, it's a miscommunication as well. Different understandings of contracts, different ideas about time, different values on paperwork and accountability. All this are part of business partnerships as we are used to. But on the continent, because we feel family, we intentionally think we should treat each other as a family. Now, but these are lessons that we from the diaspora should learn. No matter how close the friendship we have on the continent, put your contracts in writing. The continent, whatever country you're relocating to, has laws. Though these laws may seem not functioning, but they are there. These are countries that are regulated by laws, just like countries that we are operating in the diaspora. So no matter how close the friendship you have with your counterparts, with your family on the continent, whatever contracts or deals or businesses you make, please put them in writing. No matter how much trust you do have, please do also independent audit. And no matter how good the vibes are, please define your roles clearly. Family, let me hear from you. Have you had a partnership that went wrong on the continent? What lessons did you learn? Drop it in the comment section and I will get back to you. Now, another thing is that feeling of being unwelcome, that feeling of feeling unwelcome in a place where you call home, on a continent where you call your roots. Now, some returnees say this sense envy or suspicion even. Others feel locals see them as walking wallets. Imagine. Meanwhile, some Africans feel returnees look down on them and treat them as inferiors or treat them in a mean way. These stereotypes of the rich African American and the desperate African don't just hurt relationships. It simply hurts our unity. They deepen mistrust that slavery and colonialism already left behind. Now, family, here's the truth. African Americans often underestimate the complexity of colonial and post-colonial struggles. Africans on the continent sometimes underestimate the deep wounds of slavery and racism in the US and other countries. This lack of mutual understandings turns into judgment. We become judgmental and critical and stereotyping ourselves. So what's the way forward? I would suggest, or I propose, first, preparation is everything. Don't land on the continent unprepared. Don't even leave America unprepared or wherever you are. I remember how we connected a lot of families down south to Uganda, to Tanzania and other countries. And since we relocated those families, we have never had pim of a complaint because we did a total preparation. We handed them to the right families that actually wanted to have them. And so they were treated as families, as one people. So preparation is the first. Don't just land on the continent unprepared. Connect with trusted networks. Do your research also on the ground. Learn how things work on the ground on the continent. That's why we on PanAfrican Daily TV exist, to provide honest advice, authentic contacts, and Ubuntu hospitality as solutions by ourselves. Coming from the continent, operating from the diaspora, we understand the both mindset. Secondly, the next way forward would be education. Diaspora returnees must understand the complexities of post-colonial Africa. Africans on the continent must recognize the general trauma of slavery and racism. Only then can judgment be replaced with empathy when we are educated about who we are. The third way forward is humility and patience. To the African Americans moving back, come not with fantasy, but with curiosity. Learn the rhythms of life before making big commitments. To the African welcoming our returnees or our families back, treat them like family, but guard them like guests. Guide them like guests. Help them avoid mistakes without exploiting their trust. Dear PanAfrican Daily TV family worldwide, Ubuntu 1212, I am because you are because I am. I will conclude this conversation by saying this. Africa is not a fantasy. Africa is a living, a breathing reality, but full of challenges, beauty, and infinite potentials. If we meet each other with patience, fairness, and understanding, disappointments can transform into deep connections. Because at the end of the day, the African family is global, and it's time we begin treating each other that way. Thank you for listening. I am Dr. Susan Tatah, And this is PanAfrican Daily TV New Era. If this episode touched you, share it, leave a comment, start a conversation in your community on this topic. Because family, unity is not just a slogan, it's practice. Thank you.